Okay, welcome back to Miss Curtis's art class. Today we are going to have a lot of fun painting these beautiful landscapes that are like a winter scene. There's going to be a moon, some trees, and even a few little footprints that we're going to create. So what you're going to need for this project is you are going to need some watercolor paints, a paintbrush, a cup of water, something to draw with, so I'm going to be using a Sharpie marker, a piece of paper, and a paper towel or some sort of towel, okay? So let's get started. We're gonna start with our frame and name. So I'm just going to hold my paper tight. I'm going to take my marker and go right along the edge of my paper. Now remember, if you have an interest in making a curvy frame, you can always do that as well. Notice I made a straight line and now I'm making a curvy line. Does not have to be perfect. Okay. At the bottom of your frame, please write your first and last name. So I'm writing Miss Curtis. And you can even write your homeroom number. So I'm writing 220. Okay? Okay, so the first step that we're going to do is we are going to make the foreground, which is in the front area of the picture, okay? And this is going to have a couple hills of snow. So over to the left side of my frame, about 1/3 of the way up, I'm just going to take my marker and I'm going to draw a hill that's going to come down right about towards the middle of the bottom of the paper, or maybe a little bit more to the right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a hill that's going to come from the right side of the frame, and it's going to be right behind this front hill, and it's going to stop right about here. So I'm going to just hold my paper, take my marker, and draw a line that curves and comes down right about here. The next thing we're gonna do for this drawing right now is we're gonna make a couple trees on each hill. Since this tree is further back into the background, the trees are gonna be smaller on this hill, okay? So let's start with this side right now. I'm just going to make a straight line that comes down right about here and it stops. And I'm gonna make another straight line for my other tree right next to it and stop. And I'm going to make some simple curving branches that are coming off of these trees. The ones at the top are going to be a little bit smaller. And then as I go along, I'm just going to elongate them. They don't have to be perfect. And I'm going to go right towards the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's going to be a little symmetrical tree here. I'm gonna do the same thing with my other tree, my branches, and then I'm going to make smaller trees on the other hill. And I can't wait to see how your trees and tree branches are going to look. And take your time. Okay, and like I said, I'm just gonna make a couple other trees. If you wanna make 3 trees on this hill, you can. And again, they're gonna be a little bit smaller because they are in the background. So I'm going to have one tree about that big and another one right about here. And maybe I'll even fit one smaller little tree right here. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same exact technique. Now, since these trees are further back, the branches are a little bit smaller than the ones on the other side. Okay. And I'm just going through and making all of my branches. Okay, the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a moon in this top right corner. Now, if you wanna make a circle, that's perfectly fine. If you wanna make a crescent, you can make a crescent. So a crescent would look something like this. Okay, or like I said, you can just make a circle. So for me, I made the crescent. It's a little bit more complicated. Okay, now we're ready to paint already. What we're going to do is we're going to use watercolors. I'm going to teach you how, and we are going to make colors that are going to go in strips horizontally all the way up. It's going to be very cool. Okay, so we're going to start with yellow. We'll go to orange. We can do some red, green, blue, and we can even do some purple in here. Okay, so we're just going to do one color at a time going across. And like I said, I'm going to teach you how to use these watercolors. So the first color I'm going to work with is going to be yellow. We want to be very careful when using our brush that we are rinsing in between. So I'm going to bring my water over. Again, you need water, paper towel, and your paint palette. So I'm simply, actually it's probably better if I move the water cup over here. It's closer to my paper towel, so I'm not dragging it across my paper. Okay, so I'm just simply going to take my brush and I'm just swirling it in the water. Since I'm using yellow, I want to bring 3 drops of water over to my color, and you're going to do this for every single color because you need to really start or activate that paint. So I'm just swishing it in the brush, in the paint right here, and I have 3 drops of water. That's enough to get it going. And then I'm going to just take my brush and pull it off to the side here a little bit. I'm going to hold my paper tight, use the tip of my brush, and I'm just simply going to start by painting this area where there's a V between the 2 hills. And I don't want to go too high because we're going to use a lot of colors here. Notice that the yellow and these watercolor paints in general, they just go right over the these branches, right? So we use permanent marker, so that's a good thing. Okay, so I've done that area yellow. I'm going to now rinse my brush, hold the water cup, be very careful, and I'm scrubbing the bristles at the bottom of the cup to make sure that all of that color gets off. I'm gonna lightly wipe it at the top. I'm going to come over here and test on my paper towel, just kind of wipe it off. It looks pretty clear to me. If you see color there, you didn't wash this well enough. You need to go back. This is clear, so I'm gonna go to the next color. My next color is going to be orange. So I'm gonna speed this up after, but I'm just gonna show you how I switch my colors here. So I'm taking 1, 2, 3, swishing my brush, taking my time, and I'm just starting to get this paint going here. Okay, now I've got some orange on my brush. I'm gonna just wipe a little bit here, and I'm going to do the next strip here. Now notice I'm gonna come all the way over here. I'm holding my brush. Do your best to try to stay within the background and not go on your snow hill, okay, or outside of the frame. Looks like I need a little bit more color here. Okay, when you start to feel like it's drying out and you're just kind of pulling your brush here, you can go right back over to the paint. So I'm using the tip of my brush, I'm taking my time, and I'm just pulling that color over. So I went from yellow, I'm doing orange, and I'm ready to do another strip. So I am going to speed this up, and then I'm gonna show you we're gonna make some really cool little footprints in the snow, okay? So here we go. Okay, so that's how I painted my background. So I chose different colors. You don't have to go in any particular order, which kind of makes it very fun actually. And you'll even notice some of them might kind of get close and blend together, and that actually might be very pretty. So this came out as like a bluish purple. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're gonna make these little footprints as if somebody is walking through the snow, and I'm gonna teach you how. Now, the thing with these footprints is, as they start to go back, they're going to get smaller and smaller, okay? So we're gonna use our brush and we're going to use the color black. So I'm gonna dip in the water. I'm going to bring over a few drops of water like we've done before. I'm gonna swoosh my brush in here. Now this is something different that we haven't done before. I want you to take a little bit of that color and put it in the palette right here, this where I can kind of mix some colors. I don't want you to go straight from there onto the paper. It's going to be too dark. So I want you to just dilute it. I'm gonna go back into the water and add even a little bit of water into this black that I brought over until it becomes a very light gray color, okay? I'm gonna take this, and to do these little footprints, I'm just simply going to press my brush down like so. So I'm going to kind of show you as an example over here on my paper towel. You're just going to press just like this, okay? So again, I'm going to go back in here, take some of that blackish gray color, wipe some off on the side here. I don't want too much on my brush, just a little bit. And I'm going to make little footprints. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to just press. Okay, so it's very, very light. So I might need to go back and get a little bit more. And remember, the nice thing with watercolors is you can always layer on top. So it's a very gray color. But again, these are footprints, right? So since we have 2 feet, I'm just gonna press and make a second footprint right there. Okay. Now maybe I'll make them a little darker. I'll just take a little bit of black here. You gotta be very careful because you don't want them too dark. Okay, so it's a little bit more. It's a little too much water there. That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna wipe my brush here, and I'm gonna make 2 more. They're gonna get smaller. Okay, and then a couple more. And I do want them to get lighter as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of rinse my brush here, wipe it on the edge. This is very tricky. I'm gonna go back into this color here, but I just rinsed my brush off, so I'm trying to get it a little bit lighter again. And now I'm gonna have them, yep, they're a little bit lighter. They're gonna get smaller and smaller. And I'm just gonna have them slightly recede into the background. And I'm gonna wipe this off even more. See if I can make them lighter. Yep, they're getting lighter. And pretty soon they're just gonna kind of disappear. Okay, so I've got these little footprints that just kind of disappear into the background, which is pretty cool, right? The last step we're going to do, once this is totally dry, I will be giving you a white pastel or a white crayon. If you can always use white paint if you have like acrylics at home or something like that. And you can make some snowflakes over top of this area. So again, you want the whole area to be dry. Mine isn't fully dry yet, but you can see I can start to make these really neat white snowflakes through my whole background, okay? So I'm gonna speed that up and show you what that looks like. Okay, so that's how you can make a really beautiful winter nighttime kind of cool sunset with little footprints and stuff, scenery here using watercolors, and obviously adding maybe oil pastel for some snowflakes in your background. I can't wait to see how yours come out, and I look forward to next week's lesson.